Hey, welcome back to CornerSports. I'm Alvarez, and this video I'll be previewing UFC 218. JOSE Aldo takes on Max Holloway 2.0 technically, this time in Detroit, not in Brazil. And will the result be the same? I don't know, stick around and figure it out. I'm gonna start off with previewing the prelims, just 3 fights of the prelims. I'm gonna start off with David Teymur versus Drakar Klose. David Teymur was on The Ultimate Fighter, on Conor McGregor's team. You know, he's that guy who was like,
take care of your underwears, I'm gonna you, man.
What? Yeah, that guy. David Teymur is 3-0 in the UFC. He has 2 finishes, both in the second round, and has a Fight of the Night performance with Lando Venata, which, by the way, he showcased his amazing striking, and this guy is super dangerous. And he's taking on Drakar Klose. He has 2 wins in the UFC, both by decision. One is unanimous, one is split decision. His split decision comes against Mark Diakese, which was his last fight, who, by the way, I rate very highly. His striking is amazing, and Drakar was able to nullify that and win that fight. It was a striker's performance with a few takedowns. I think David is very composed in the ring. He's a great fighter, and he's 28 years old, and he's starting to get into his prime. And I expect David to win this match via knockout in the first round. Book it, because this will be a quick one. This is a sleeper on this card, and that's why I'm starting off my prediction with it. The next fight we're going to take a look at is Alex Cowboy Oliveira taking on Alex Modeiros. Cowboy Oliveira, who's very experienced in the UFC, has a plethora of fights against some great competition. He's fought Tim Means a few times. He fought Donald Cerrone. He fought Will Brooks. This guy has a plethora of experience, and he's a very experienced fighter. He's a true and natural 170-pounder, and he has a few Fight of the Night performances under his belt, so you know this guy is gonna bring the heat. However, Yancy Modeiros has been around the block from the Strikeforce days, and he's currently on a 2-fight streak, looking to take it to a 3-fight win streak, but it'll be a tough outing against Cowboy Oliveira. Yancy is coming off of a knockout win against Eric Silva, which was an impressive knockout in the second round, and I'm sure he'll look on to build on this momentum. However, I think Cowboy has a little too much for him in this fight, and I think Cowboy will win this fight via submission. Oliveira is really great at his submissions. He's a Brazilian guy who's got a great BJJ game, and his striking game is tippy top. I mean, his fight against Cowboy didn't go the way he wanted to, but that was Cowboy versus Cowboy, and that was Cowboy Cerrone when he was actually doing fairly well. Now he's kind of skidding down. Oliveira is a great fighter, and I expect him to pick up a win here. And let's move on to the next one. Next fight we're going to talk about is another Oliveira, but this time it's Charles Oliveira taking on Paul Felder, and that's experience versus experience. Charles Oliveira, who's surprisingly at 28 years old, has 18 fights in the UFC against some great competition. Let's just look at the guys he has fought. Will Brooks, Ricardo Lamas, Anthony Pettis, Miles Jury, Max Holloway, Jeremy Stevens, Frankie Edgar, Cub Swanson, Donald Cerrone, Nick Lynch, Jim Miller. This guy has amazing and a huge amount of experience. However, Paul Felder is no joke. This guy also has plenty of experience in the UFC. He's been around the block for quite some time now. At 33 years old, this is a make or break fight for Paul Felder. If he wins this fight, he can get a couple more in there and challenge for that title. If not, I mean, at 33, what more can you do? You've tried in the sport. He has plenty of experience. He's currently on a 2-fight win streak. Both of them were Fight of the Night bonuses for him. He's putting it on. He's having a more looser fight. He's getting on commentary now. He's trying to integrate himself more into the sport. And look, if he wins this fight, I think he gets a top 10 fight. But if he doesn't, I think Charles Oliveira, who's a younger, more experienced fighter, surprisingly, will probably win this fight, and I think he'll probably win via knockout. I just enjoy watching Charles fight. I think he has a really great fighting style. His stances are crazy, and he's great on the ground, and not to mention his plethora of experience in the sport makes him a candidate that can possibly go on and fight for that title in a couple of fights. And if he can pick up this win against Felder, he'll get a top 10 match, and I think he will pick up a win against Felder via submission in the first round. He's going to take him down, submit him, and come out of there clean and looking for a fight early 2018. Let's start talking about the main card, because that's really what you're here for. And the first fight on the main card is Tecia Torres taking on Michele Waterson. You got the Tiny Tornado taking on the Karate Hottie. Tecia Torres, who's only lost her fight to Rose Namajunas, who's by the way the current champion of the division, is currently on a 2-fight win streak, her last one being a performance of the night fight. She's putting it together right now. She's currently 5-1 in the UFC. She has 6 fights, and Michele Waterson is no joke. She's also a killer. She has that great Stephen Thompson type style fighting stance where she stands wide and she has great kicks, and her hands are dangerous too, and don't sleep on her ground game as well. Everybody talks about Michele Waterson's standing style and her hands and feet, but all of her wins in the UFC have been via submission. So be on the lookout. If she gets a takedown and she gets a hold of Tecia Torres, she might just finish this fight early. Tecia Torres likes to drag out her fights. Most of her wins in the UFC have been via unanimous decision. Tecia Torres is not easy to take down. She's an explosive fighter and she can put you in deep waters at any time. However, I think Michele Waterson picks up a win here. I think she's more impressive on the ground as well as with her feet and hands. I think she'll get her down to the ground and submit her. This fight promises to be a good one. That's why it's the opener, and I'm looking forward to it. It'll be an exciting one. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this card. Probably, if not the best, one of the best fights of this entire card. Eddie Alvarez taking on Justin Gaethje, and boy, am I excited for this fight. It's gonna be fireworks. Do not blink. Do not do anything, because this fight can be stopped at any minute, considering that Justin Gaethje is in it. If he lands, you're out. Eddie, the Underground King Alvarez, is coming off of a no contest fight against Dustin Poirier where it seemed like he couldn't continue to fight, which was stopped. Previous to that, he was knocked out by Conor McGregor, and to me, especially watching these embedded episodes, it seems like his confidence is a bit shot. He's not the same fighter he was, and that seems to be a trend of fighters after they fight Conor McGregor, whereas Justin Gaethje is on the up. Their careers are almost like, am I doing this right? Their careers are like this, and they're sort of meeting at a middle point. Now, if this is Alvarez, he can either shoot up or Gaethje can keep going up, and I think what's going to happen is Gaethje is just going to keep going up. He's such an exciting fighter. He's young. He was a champion before. Alvarez was as well, but Gaethje is more hungry right now. Gaethje had an amazing fight against Michael Johnson. I mean, probably one of the best fights of all time in the UFC. It was back and forth. This guy is not scared to take a punch, nor is he scared to give a punch, and Alvarez was credited to be the same in his career. Gaethje is 18-0. He is the number 5 lightweight in the world. Will be looking to pick up another knockout win against Eddie Alvarez, and if he picks up this win, especially if it's in like some sort of spectacular fashion, I think that puts him in a title shot conversation against Conor McGregor. And especially if Conor McGregor gets to pick his own fights, he's gonna pick a fighter who's gonna come forward and try to fight with him rather than, you know, sit back and take you down. That's not the type of fighter Gaethje is. So I'm gonna predict a Gaethje win here in the second round via knockout. Stamp that, because this fight will be fireworks. I already know it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to see what Gaethje does, and I'm really hoping both of these fighters come to fight, because if they do, it's gonna be a quick one. In the next fight, it's Henry Cejudo taking on Sergio Pettis, number 2 versus number 4, and this fight has some title ramifications. In his last fight, Henry Cejudo showed us that he is a fighter still developing. I mean, the skills I thought he was a karate fighter. This guy is an Olympic gold medalist in wrestling, and what he did in that fight showed me that he was some sort of a kickboxing Grand Prix winner. I mean, this guy is putting it together. He's still so young in the sport. He's only 30 years old. His skills are developing, and he's just a fantastic fighter. And I mean, this three-headed monster you got going on with DJ, Benavidez, and Cejudo, and Pettis is sort of trying to slide into that conversation, but Cejudo is just such a fantastic fighter. I'm so impressed with him and the way he's developing, and his fight against DJ was a little too early in his career, and that's just sad because this division is so tight, and DJ has just been knocking guys left and right out. But Cejudo is the real deal, and I think if he's able to put it together against Sergio Pettis, that's another call for a title shot against DJ. Sergio is on a 4-fight win streak. He's only 24 years old. He's also still growing in this sport. I mean, we can see this guy fight at 135 one day. And when you initially saw him in the sport, he had a few fights where he was taken into deep waters and he was put away. And those are learning curves for young fighters. As a 24-year-old fighter, to be on a 4-fight win streak in the UFC is a very impressive thing. He's the number 4 4 ranked flyweight in the sport and taking on an Olympic gold medalist. I mean, this is his toughest fight in his entire career, no doubt about it. But will he be able to overcome the adversity that is Henry Cejudo? I unfortunately don't think so. I think Henry Cejudo showed me in the last fight that he is advancing. He's taking leaps and bounds. He's no longer that guy who's going to throw that overhand right, take you down and submit you, or just grind you out on the ground. But instead, he'll stand up with you and he'll knock you out if he has to, just like he did in his last fight. I think Henry Cejudo picks up a win in this fight, but I do think this goes the distance. I think Henry Cejudo will show us his stand-up game. He'll also probably look to take down Sergio Pettis. I mean, this fight is just going to be such an exciting fight. These guys have the pace to push, and it's only 3 rounds, so I'm expecting just heavy loads of work in round 1, 2, and 3. Henry Cejudo to pick up a win in unanimous decision. Well, the next fight, which, I mean, it's gladiators. It's 2 big-ass motherfuckers taking each other on. Overeem versus Francis Ngannou. Boy, am I excited for this fight. All it takes is 1 shot. 1 shot lands, this fight is over. It'll be easy for me to sit here and say, hey, look, Overeem has the experience and Ngannou is the young and up-and-coming fighter who's a force, and if he lands on you, you're out, and all those things are true. I think Overeem's experience is something that he'll carry into this fight and something that he will use to his advantage, considering he has, I mean, damn near 50 professional fights with K1 and everything else, and Pride and UFC. He has more fights in the UFC than Ngannou has total fights at all. Ngannou is fairly young to the sport. He's been only in the sport for 4 years. Ngannou is on a fight streak. He's putting guys out left and right, and if he lands on you, he'll put you out. Overeem, who lost that title shot to Miocic but bounced back, 2 beautiful wins, a knockout win against Mark Hunt and another split decision win against Verdum, which is arguable, but look, when judges decide, they decide, and they decided Overeem won that fight. And if he wins this fight, I think the winner of this fight is going to fight for the title. But will it be Ngannou or will it be Overeem? The thing is, I don't know what's going to happen. Is it going to be patient Overeem who's going to wait and take his shot when he needs to? Or is Ngannou just going to rush him in the first round, put him out, and that'll be it? Get on the mic and be like, Miocic, meet me somewhere in March, let's fight. I think the latter is probably what's going to happen. I love Overeem, don't get me wrong. I think he can be very careful in his new style of fighting where he's patient and he takes his chances, and if you open up, he'll put you out. But at the same time, I just think Ngannou can take a shot, A, and B, Ngannou can also dish it out. I think if he lands on Overeem, who's been knocked out like damn near 10 times in his career, just 1 punch and he's probably going to put him out. It's number 1 versus number 4, and I think number 4 is going to knock out number 1. Ngannou will knock out Overeem in the first round. This will be a quick one, and don't sleep on his ground game. If Overeem is smart, I think he would take him down and ride him out. I mean, that's what he needs to do to win this fight. I think he needs to be very careful because this guy is a fucking beast. He's like a tank, dude. He's a fucking walking tank. And it'll be a fantastic transition into our main event where Jose Aldo, the previous king of this division,
relaxed and smiling.
takes on the current king, Max Holloway. I mean, what can you say? Max Holloway is on an amazing fight streak. He's been putting guys out left and right. His last loss was against, guess who? Conor McGregor. Yeah, after that, he hasn't lost. Whereas Jose Aldo also lost to Conor McGregor, but then lost to Max Holloway. He lost his title. Max Holloway was scheduled to fight Frank Yeager, which I was super excited about. I think that fight would have been so exciting. I think Max would have won that fight, but I still think that fight would have been very exciting. Jose Aldo is just not the same guy after getting knocked out to Conor McGregor. Like I said, once you get knocked out to Conor McGregor, you're not the same person. And at 31 years old, this is about the time where 145ers, this featherweight division, is a young man's division. at 31 years old is about where fighters start taking a dip, and I think that's exactly what's happening to Jose Aldo. He's lost 2 fights in the last couple of years, whereas he hadn't lost a fight in like damn near 8 years before that. So obviously he's taking a dip, whereas Max Holloway, who's only 25, super young, super hungry. I mean, he's super confident. I watch these videos of him. I follow him on his social media. This guy is oozing confidence and on this amazing fight streak. He has a plan to dominate this division quite like Jose Aldo did for a very long time. And I think Max Holloway does just that. I think he's more prepared for a 5-round fight right now. I think Jose Aldo needs to use his leg kicks if he has any success in this fight. He wasn't able to find his range in the first fight as well as he would like to. Maybe he does that in this fight, but I just doubt it. I think Max Holloway he can take a shot. And Jose's not going to put him away. He tried. He really cracked him in the first fight. I mean, if you watch that fight back, Jose he definitely won the first round. You can argue the second round as well. But once Max keeps pushing that pace and he keeps coming at you, and eventually he will break you. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen in this round. I'm predicting another 3rd round finish, but this time I think Max Holloway will dominate the entire fight. Where Jose Aldo was able to get the first round and showcase his skills in the second round in the first fight, I don't think that's going to happen this time around. I think this time around Max Holloway will take the first, second, and in the 3rd round, he'll get the job done. No need to get into those championship fights, and let's reschedule that Frankie Edgar fight, and let's see what that can be. So, let me know what you think is going to happen at UFC 218. Who's going to win? Leave me your predictions below. Thank you so much for coming back to Corner Sports, chatting it up with me about some UFC 218. I'm looking forward to having conversations with you. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.